What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside James Jackson at the stadium with Sooners Illustrated and 24/7 Sports. Oklahoma is 2-0. It wasn't always pretty. Got a little hairy for a little while there, but they knock off the SMU Mustangs on Saturday night, 28-11. That's got to be a scoregami. Weird score. James, Sooners, they got it done. They ended up winning they covered the spread. I mean, on paper it looks pretty comfortable, but this game was funky for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, you said it. On paper it looks very comfortable. You go down that stat line and you see what Dylan Gabriel did, 4 touchdowns and most of his completions, and you look at Tawee Walker, the first 100-yard rusher for Oklahoma this year, you think, okay, they had a pretty good game, but it was shaky at the beginning. It was shaky, and it took the third and fourth quarter to put that game away and make a good run at it. So, I mean, just what can you say? They covered. So, I mean, at least your predictions right, things like that. But, man, a little shaky, a little different than what we expected from OU, just like last week. Different ways.
Yeah, this game, I don't know what to make of it. You know, we'll have some time to kind of absorb it, and we'll obviously talk about it in much more detail on Monday's podcast. We loop in Tom Green, but this was a weird game. 3-point game in the fourth quarter tonight. We'll get into the weeds of it. Let's start with the defense. Let's start with the good. Defensively, James, I think that Oklahoma, if they give up on average 5.5 points per game, they'll probably be all right this year. Only 11 points tonight, and SMU didn't crack the end zone until the fourth quarter. So that means Oklahoma went 7 full quarters into this season before they gave up their first touchdown of the season. They got a little worn down, gave up that big score, but they came through with a couple big stops late to put the game away. James, this defense, I mean, it's only 2 games, so we're gonna tread lightly. But it feels like this defense is good. I mean, legitimately good.
The defense is solid. They kind of bend and don't break, and that's the key here. You look at the earlier in the game, it was a long run, and they make a play on the ball and get a fumble. And, you know, you got to give props to Venables and what he's been preaching to the guys and things like that to make that play. And then you get the interception at the end of the game to pretty much seal it and put the game away. Get some stops on fourth down, you know, have a very good percentage there. So, overall, the defense did pretty good. They were, like I said, we bended and didn't break. They let some drives get longer than they should have possibly, and they had some penalties here and there that were kind of costly at the time, but just one touchdown. And you kind of can blame Venables for that, for getting off the sideline warning and that having to, you know, be a part of that. But overall, the defense looked pretty good overall. I mean, just solid all around, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you got a couple turnovers, like you said. He still didn't get in the sack column, but the pass rush was there. Preston Stone was running for his life a lot of this game, SMU quarterback, and not for nothing, how many dimes did he have? I mean, on the run, guy in his face just dropping it in. That SMU QB, Preston Stone, he impressed me tonight at the very least. I don't know if that means anything to him, but he impressed me. So, all things considered, Oklahoma defensively, I mean, through 2 games, A+. I mean, you're talking about 11 total points in 2 games. Like I said, you're not going to be able to keep up that pace all year, but so far so good defensively, tackling, physical, punishing hits. So what did Brent Venables say when he was hired? Relentless, suffocating defense. They're playing that so far through 2 games. Flip to the other side, offensively. Weird night because you had some things you liked, but for a long stretch, they just got stagnant. You know, not doing much, kind of just runs up the middle for little to no yardage. There was a long stretch in this game where it just felt like they are just not getting any kind of flow, rhythm going offensively. Now, when SMU cut it to 3, they cranked it back up, got 2 touchdowns to put the game away. But, James, that stretch in the middle there, it's got to be at least a little alarming if you're an Oklahoma fan. They went on a long stretch in this game where they just couldn't get it going.
That's what it comes down to. Is the rhythm wasn't there for the offense tonight.
Yeah.
You know, they when they needed to do it, they did. Like you said, that long drive, that 10-play, 75-yard drive after they scored a touchdown. I mean, that, you know, extends the lead for OU and kind of makes it more comfortable for the defense to go back in there.
Big, yeah.
And I mean, another positive to take away from this is dealing with adversity. This team overall dealt with adversity pretty well. We talked about the defense getting those stops and everything like that, but when the offense dealt with that adversity, when the SMU was pulling into the game, they go on that long drive and score a touchdown, then they get another touchdown after that. So that's a good positive take away from it. But overall, this offense, a little shaky to start here. Yeah. A little shaky overall.
It just, and I'm not a football coach, okay? Jeff Lebby knows way more about football than I'll ever know, but it just felt like the play calling was a little just weird. I'll call it weird for a long stretch in this game. We still are not really seeing Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk hardly at all, which is weird to me if both guys are healthy. And not Tawee Walker's doing some nice things. Marcus Major had the play of the game, essentially. But it just feels like those 2 guys add a whole nother dynamic, and we're not seeing them yet. Maybe that'll happen down the road. But, yeah, that stretch in the middle, like I said, has got to be at least a little concerning. When they were airing it out, throwing it around, They got it. Farouk got going, that great touchdown. Angelo Anthony continues to be really good so far in his Oklahoma career, if you want to call it that. But yeah, that stretch in the middle, that's going to be in the back of OU fans' minds, I think, moving forward. Like, what if we have another one of those where all of a sudden we can't move? What did you think of the insertion of Jackson Arnold? I think that was a big question mark coming in. How would they use Arnold in games that were still close? Obviously, this game was close throughout. They put him in only ever for design running plays. He never threw the ball. What did you make of it? Did you like it? Did you want to see more of it? I'm still trying to figure it out myself. How do you feel about the Arnold package?
It makes sense to get him in there, and you have that extra guy to run the ball now instead of just using a running back. There's another guy that you can take advantage of in the short yardage situations, but it's Jackson Arnold, man. He can do more things than just run the ball. So when you have that opportunity, you can throw it over the top, things like that. And we asked that to Coach Brent Venables about it, and he was like, "Yeah, we're going to do more on that later on." So just kind of staying vanilla, I guess, on it right now. Just not wanting to show anybody too much. And one of those drives, one of those fourth downs, you got to get. That's what Venables said. Just 4th and 1, you got to get that. And so they'll get better at it as they go on, is what he said. But I guess just getting Jackson Arnold in the game is a big key for OU, and that's what it comes down to for them. Just wanting to get him in the game, and so that's the situation you get him in at. And if he wants to run the ball pretty short, that's what you got to do. So take advantage of the opportunities you get. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I kept waiting for them to pop something out there, almost like a Tim Tebow jump pass, I think. So I was like, they're just running it every time, and surely eventually they'll throw it, and they never did. It was all runs with Arnold. So we'll see, like you said, if they expand that out a little more as we go. But I think the big lesson to be gleaned there is that they do intend for Jackson Arnold to be a part of this year's team, the 2023 team.
Definitely,
so that was a big takeaway there. All right, so kind of final thoughts on this one. We'll spin it forward. Tulsa next week. Kind of wrapping this one up, I guess let's do kind of a mood tracker here on the way out. How are you feeling about this team? Like I said, this was a weird game. They actually ended up covering the spread. I mean, they beat a pretty good, I think, SMU team by 17 points. It didn't always feel pretty. I don't know. How are you feeling about this team right now? What's the ceiling here? Are you concerned? How are you feeling right now about this group?
Like I said, the defense, is different.
Defense is legit.
You think, hey, this defense is solid, and it's like, we're worrying about the offense now. It's kind of different, But hey, overall, I think SMU is one of the better teams on OU's schedule this year. So that's one thing you got to look at it as well. Because now I think next week against Tulsa will be an easier challenge for them, and they can hammer some things home, get some things situated before they head into Big 12 play. So that's where I'm at right now with this team right now. It's just they're solid. Offense is a little bit worse than I thought, but overall pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I am starting to become a very good believer in this defense, and I can't help but kind of think if they just were a little less vanilla, maybe for lack of a better word or whatever, they maybe win this game by a lot more than they did. I don't know. So we'll see. So far, so good. They're 2-0. Can't complain about that. And like you said, SMU probably is going to wind up being one of the better teams they play. We'll see how the season goes on, but at least on paper, you're looking at between now and the Texas game, Tulsa, Cincinnati, Iowa State. Are you convinced any of those teams are better than SMU? I mean, I'm certainly not. So we'll see what happens the next few weeks. Tulsa up next. First road game, if you can call it that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of OU fans up there in the 918, but we look forward to that one next week up in T-Town. That's it for now. Keep up with Oklahoma.247sports.com. There is loads of coverage there already. More to come. More reaction from, obviously, us, Tom Green, Colin Kennedy, as well as Brent Venables, players. A crazy night here in Norman. We're looking forward to seeing how this thing continues to go week by week here the rest of the way. And, of course, again, also, I mentioned earlier, look for the podcast on Monday. We'll obviously loop Tom Green into the mix here with James and I. We'll be able to really flush this thing out and kind of expound on our thoughts that we kind of touched on a little bit here as we get to watch it back and kind of see how we feel about things a couple days later. So that's it for now. We'll catch you guys on Monday for the podcast and on to next week in T-Town with Oklahoma taking on Tulsa. For James Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway signing off for now from the stadium in Norman.